They say that if you're in the woods and you see an angry bear, you don't have to run faster than that bear. You just have to run faster than your friends. Let me tell you, being behind, that's not something you ever want in business. And whether you like it or not, if you're not willing to get down and dirty with artificial intelligence, well, let's just say you're gonna be that slow sprint. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit intimidating. It seems like there are 3 new tools every single day that do the same thing, but a little bit different. Luckily, we have someone with us here today who can help us break through that confusion and give us a good place to start. We're gonna talk with Impact Trainer Briana Meisel, who's our all-star when it comes to all things AI. And today, she's gonna fill us in on 3 AI tools that can help almost any marketer. Hey Briana, how are you doing today? Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. The only concerns I'm having in my life right now is knowing which AI tools to use. There are so many tools out there right now kind of popping up. As a marketer, I'm just not even really sure where to start. Would you mind kind of breaking down maybe a few tools that you enjoy using or recommend to marketers kind of starting out?
Absolutely. So what I find, Austin, is there's not one best tool that is going to be a one size fits all. So my role is very different from your role. So the tools that apply to me are going to be different than the tools that apply to you. So really for anybody who's watching this is play around is the first step. Is play around with tools that you think could apply to your job. And then you can ultimately decide which ones are going to be best for you. So I'm going to talk about a few tools that I've been playing around with recently that I think all marketers should have their hands on. And those might be for you. They also might not be. And so that's a question you want to answer for yourself first before you really jump into any subscription or anything like that. So the first one that I would like to touch on is a tool called Descript. So this is a video editing tool. The really wonderful thing about this is the efficiency play that it adds to videographers and really any content creators alike. So with this tool, one of my favorite parts of it is they have what's called overdub. And so I can drop a video file in and it will immediately transcribe it. And I will say, out of the bajillion tools that there are out there today, this is actually pretty accurate. It does goof up like sometimes some names or any industry terms that, otherwise they wouldn't know. But for the most part, it's pretty exact. Let's say I'm the on-camera talent and I wanted to say, hey, Austin, how's it going today? But instead I said, hey, Austin, how's it going today? Like that obviously sounds ridiculous, right? So what I can do in Descript is I can go into that transcription, just like a Word doc or a Google doc. And instead of saying Austin, I can delete that E, and through their voice cloning, which they call overdub, it will correct my on-camera audio, which is so nice because as you know, as a videographer, there is nothing more annoying than getting all the way through the editing process and being like, dang it, that one person that I had such a hard time scheduling, I got to get them back in here for this one sentence, right? They also have a full content library of different images, different GIFs that you can use, that some of them are a little stock imagey, but the bulk of them are actually things that I would use and put my name on.
Is that something that you kind of have to be a videographer to know how to use and figure out? Or is it something that, say I'm a CEO and I'm shooting a video with my cell phone for social media, LinkedIn, could I just plug it in there and edit like a pro kind of a thing?
That's actually the cool thing about it, right? Is you don't have to have all the high video editing skills to be able to use this tool and have it produce video content that you feel proud about. So the cost for Descript, the wonderful video editing tool that it is, they've got a free tier, and that is what I have utilized as I've just been playing around with it. They do have a creator tier, which is $12 a month, and a pro tier, which is $24 a month. How they price those points is based on hours per month, which is a little unique as it compares to other tools, but this isn't strictly for writing. So if you think, obviously you as a videographer know this, as you sit down to edit, time is really a big thing that you track. So hopefully if you're saving time with this, that would actually be a great thing to track, is to say, how much time am I spending in editing right now? And if I implement Descript into my daily or weekly editing routine, what does that time cycle look like? And am I truly making it decrease? They do also have an enterprise option, but that is custom. So that would be that you reach out to their sales team and have a true conversation about what that's going to practically look like for your organization.
Awesome.
Fun.
What else is out there?
What else? Well, there is one tool that I find very, very helpful for really anybody in the way of marketing, and that is what's called Reclaim. So Reclaim is a scheduling tool, and it is just one of the many AI scheduling tools. What I would say as like a hot tip for every marketer out there is utilize AI for your time management. If you are struggling with time management in any capacity, even as simple as like nailing down those one-on-one meetings with your direct reports, right? Have AI do that for you. So I myself find myself to be very good with time management. However, as a trainer of a lot of clients, a lot of meetings get put on my calendar when I otherwise was planning to use that time for, say, a personal to-do list item, something like that, right? And so if I have a personal appointment that I've made for myself on my calendar and somebody else books me for something, well, I'm not going to be able to hold that personal time that I set aside for myself, right? So then that causes me to have to look for other time on my calendar, which this isn't really a big thing, but when you have this happen all the time, it really does add up to be quite an extension of your day where you're cleaning up things at the end of the day, before you're able to log off, which nobody likes doing that. Austin, let's say you were my boss and you wanted to ensure that you and I had one-on-one time every other week, but something came up that was put on your calendar or mine that bumped that meeting. Now we have to have another conversation about, well, when else can we have that meeting, right? It's all time consuming. Wouldn't it be better if we had someone or something in control of our calendar that could say, oh, it looks like Austin and Briana's really important meeting got bumped. I know that it's a priority for both of them. So I'm going to look at both of their calendars and find when they both have a time free next, and I'm going to book that on their behalf. So in a sense, it's kind of like having your own personal assistant specific for your calendar. But I like that specifically just that it schedules on your behalf. So it will actually sync right with your Google Calendar, and it'll pop up even like when I'm in my Google Calendar, if I have a note that says like, make sure that this is booked for this week or something along those lines, or like, hey, I rescheduled your one-on-one with Austin and it's now next Monday. So it truthfully, like I feel like I'm interacting with a human, which is a little creepy, but it does the job, and it just makes everything more seamless. And from my end, I feel like it is less thought energy for me to just be like, okay, I know I'm not missing anything because I have all my settings set up correctly in Reclaim that it's going to catch everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that sounds like a tool that, a lot of marketers like express fear of AI and like AI is going to take our jobs. It's going to do all our things. This sounds like one of those tools where it's like, if you're using this, you're just giving yourself the time to do the special skills you have. This is taking care of those things that just like takes up the time that you don't need to be taken up and lets you kind of do your thing. So that's super awesome. Does that have like a subscription, or is that maybe like a free version, pro version kind of a thing?
They do have a free plan, which is what I currently use. I did sign up for their starter plan. It's only $8 a month. I have a business seat, which is $12 a month. Otherwise, their enterprise seat is $18 a month. So even at their highest level, if time management, especially at the leadership level, I just really feel strong that anybody in leadership, especially with a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of different meetings to move around, generally speaking, people in the way of leadership tend to have an executive assistant or an administrative assistant. But if you don't, this is a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, that's, like you said, a really low price point for not just a tool, but having that peace of mind, especially like you said, if you're bad with time management, just having that, not having to worry about it is awesome. Sweet. Yeah, what else do you have for us?
The other tool that I have lightly dabbled in and I'm really looking forward to taking a deeper dive into is what's called content at scale. But the nice thing with this as well is this is targeted for more long form blog posts, and it's pretty dang accurate. So you can go in, you can select what type of audience you have, what type of tone you want to use, what this is actually going to be utilized for. And it does take, from a loading standpoint, this is a little more time consuming than I've noticed other tools. However, I think there's good reason for it. Number one, it's a long form blog post. So we're talking like 3,000, 4,000 words, right? So it's not a short thing that it's creating, but I have found that what it pushes out, I as a human don't have to edit as much. So, we've all used ChatGPT to see like what silly response we can get for something. And once we all got past the silly phase and we started asking real questions, unless you ask real good questions, you don't get real good results. You get kind of crummy stuff that you wouldn't really do much with, right? And so what I like about this tool is because it has metrics that you can enter beforehand, as most tools do, it really holds pretty strongly to those. So there's not as much AIO that you have to go back and do, not as much artificial intelligence optimization. And the reason I'm so excited about this company is very similar to Descript. They also have educational webinars that they continually host and schedule far out. And so for me, and honestly, a lot of my clients is, the idea of integrating new tools is one thing, but integrating new tools that have AI baked into them, one thing that comes up as a fear is security, right? Sharing your data. And, if I write something, is it mine? Like, what does all that look like? And also, if I, start this new tool, how the heck do I know how to use it, right? So I love that they have those educational webinars put in place. And just like Descript, they leave room for Q&A so you can actually get your direct questions answered. Now, what I also really love about this is they hold all of their data in their own system. So what we've been seeing a lot in the way of legal and finances is we have a lot of employees. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So to no fault of their own, putting in privileged information into tools like ChatGPT, into tools where we don't know where that information is going. The rule of thumb that I always advise people is if it feels like you probably shouldn't give that tool that info, you probably shouldn't. So it is really nice to be able to have just that security piece.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because that's the question I was going to ask was, when you get that, how much do you have to kind of adjust? Because that's one thing I struggle with on some other tools is, I feel like I prompted really well, and I'm sure I can always do better.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh, that was the perfect prompt, and then you get something back and you're like, this is not helpful. So that's really cool that it gives such great results.
So with content at scale, they are a little more on the expensive end, but to have your data stored securely, that does come at a cost. And so they have 4 different tiers. The first one is solo, and that is $250 a month. And then there's starter, which is $500 a month, going up to scaling, which is $1,000 a month, and then agency, which is $1,500 a month. So with those high price points, I think it would be wise to take a practical look at what are you going to use this for and how many people on your team are going to access it. Because, just because you are maybe part of an agency, does that mean the agency tier is what you have to shoot for? Maybe not. The other thing I will say that is a perk, which I'm going to guess is one of the reasons for that higher price point, is they do have a plagiarism checker and an AI detector. So even though their AI creates the blog form, it then runs itself through an AI detector and a plagiarism detector. So I know that's a pretty common fear of writers today is, if I create content with AI, how do I know, number one, that it's factual, but number two, that nobody else is using it? So having that plagiarism checker is such a big deal. And with content at scale, with that plagiarism checker, you're just crossing that off your list as a non-worry.
That makes sense. So a little bit higher price point, like you said, but if you have those use cases you need it for, probably well worth it.
One other tool that I will mention is not necessarily like a platform that sits on its own, but HubSpot is continually experimenting with integrating AI into their system. And something fun that I just started playing around with is a content assistant, which is so nice for individuals who do use HubSpot to post their blogs. It is right within the actual, like when you're physically publishing, it'll give you suggestions. And similar to Grammarly Go, if you've played around with that at all, it pops up in a box. So like, let's say I've got a statement in my blog that feels really repetitive to things that I've said before. You know, if you write for the same company over and over, it's really easy to feel repetitive. So maybe I want to highlight that and I want to ask HubSpot Content Assistant, can you rephrase this or can you rewrite this? And instead of just auto changing the words, it'll give you a suggestion in a box that you can either accept or decline. But that way you're not just like immediately changing your words, because that is one thing that I have found as a little bit of an annoyance with some tools is you can't go back to your original.
Yeah, you'll try a new one and then you'll be like, that first one was better, but I can't remember exactly how it's worded.
What did I say the first time?
Yeah. Thanks for talking with us today. All these tools sound pretty great. Sounds like something I need to hop on some of those right now. So
yeah,
thanks for sharing your wisdom and bringing us some new tools.
Of course. You're very welcome.
Just like the rise of the internet, artificial intelligence is going to change the way our world does business. Falling behind, it could spell disaster. But embracing and learning this new technology could help you and your business be more efficient, competitive, and creative.